Welcome back to the Kyle Olson Show. One of my concerns about the seeming slowness of the John Durham investigation into who was involved in the Russia hoax is that you can guarantee John Durham would be the very first person Joe Biden fires if he actually becomes president. So apparently to combat that, Attorney General William Barr appointed him as a special prosecutor. My next guest says the same thing needs to happen in the case of Hunter Biden and the Biden family's apparent exploitation of the vice presidency. Colorado Congressman Ken Buck, a former district attorney, joins me now. So, Congressman, why do you want the Attorney General to appoint a special prosecutor?
I think the special prosecutor has certain protections from the regular political change that occurs in administrations. And the special counsel has authority to investigate and is given independent resources. And I think in this case, the subject matter is absolutely significant and important for the American people to get to the bottom of. It's actually impeachable conduct if the vice president at the time knew that his son was selling his authority and access and benefiting financially from it. And so I think it is a very important issue. It's an issue that's going to cloud the Biden presidency if, in fact, Joe Biden is formally sworn in as president. And I think that in order for America to move forward, it just makes sense to clear up this matter.
So lay out the case how the Biden family business ventures impact both a potential Biden presidency and, maybe more importantly, national security.
Well, what can be done in terms of Ukraine or even the region that has credibility when the vice president's son has received a board appointment and made over $500,000 as a result of being the vice president's son? And I don't think it's just an allegation. I think it's quite clear that all of those things happened. The allegation, it really is whether the vice president knew about it, consented to it, and participated in it. And if he did, as I said, I think it's an impeachable offense. And I think that the only way for America to move forward in that region is to make sure that the world knows, and certainly the American voters and taxpayer know, that we are not selling access to a government official in the international market.
Based on what you've seen, do you believe it's an impeachable offense?
Oh, it's certainly an impeachable offense. I don't know that the evidence has been presented yet as to Joe Biden's involvement in these activities. It would make sense that he knew. It would make sense that companies don't throw $500,000 around lightly, and that they got some benefit from the access that they had with the vice president's son. But the real question, and it just is going to take an investigation, and that's why I'm calling for a special counsel. The real question is, what, if anything, did the vice president know when his son was out peddling his father's name?
Joe Biden said recently that his family would not do any business that would even create the appearance of a conflict of interest. But all of this happened, what you're talking about, happened when he was vice president. Why should we believe him now based on what we know his family was doing the last time he was in office?
Well, it's not just that. I think that's a big part of it. But I think when you look at Joe Biden's career, his 47-year career in government, and he had to withdraw from a presidential race because he had plagiarized material from other candidates. When he has been vice president of the United States and brags about how he shut down a special prosecutor in the Ukraine and his son received $500,000, I think the questions are so significant, and his activity is so consistent that the American people have reason to question the Biden family moving forward.
Intelligence Committee Chairman Adam Schiff once called for legislation to protect then Special Counsel Robert Mueller, but now says AG Barr's appointment of John Durham is to continue a, quote, politically motivated investigation. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I think Adam Schiff should know what politically motivated investigations are all about. He
Right.
obviously conducted one with the impeachment hearings from beginning to end. He set that up, and really the damage that that has done to this country is immeasurable, and it's really sad that he was pushing that, and so the the inconsistencies in Mr. Schiff's statements aren't surprising to me. I think that he will do anything he can to take down a Republican administration and be popular with a very liberal base that he has in California, regardless of the Constitution, and at the same time is going to protect a Democrat at all costs. And the appointment by Bill Barr, I think, made a lot of sense. Let's get to the bottom of what happened. If a federal government investigating agency, and especially the premier investigating agency, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, conducted an investigation of a presidential campaign based on political appointees in the administration asking for that to happen, and based on false information that was presented to the FISA court. That is certainly something that the American public wants to know and should know, and this investigation should continue.
Looking forward to next year in the new Congress, it appears that the Democrats will have a significantly smaller majority. How do you think that is going to play out? What do you think the focus of the House will be? And what will the agenda of the Republicans be in the new Congress?
Well, let's unpack a few of those questions one at a time. Really, I think what's so fascinating is that Speaker Pelosi has a real issue on her hands. She has a very, very far left wing of her party that is pushing for radical change. And even though the voters rejected that radical change at the polls in November, the speaker is caught between trying to win elections and those radicals. And she can't turn her back on those radicals or try to minimize them, because that's the difference in the vote to make her speaker number one, but also to try to hold on to the majority. And so she is in a really difficult rock and a hard place situation. I think that the reality is that the Republicans will have much more to say, and I say Republican leadership will have much more to say in the outcome of legislation than in the past. And so there's a possibility that some positive bipartisan legislation can be accomplished on issues like reining in the power of big tech and making sure that pharmaceuticals are being sold at the lowest possible price to Americans, and many issues that Americans care deeply about. But at the same time, Speaker Pelosi doesn't have enough of a majority to really compromise on some of those important areas.
Do you think that the presidential race will ultimately end up in the Supreme Court? And do you think that the House of Representatives will be playing a role in who is the next president?
As to the first question, I think the Supreme Court will have a role. Whether they accept the full role of holding hearings and issuing opinions, I'm not sure. The state of Texas just filed a case yesterday, late in the afternoon, evening, and that will be heard by the Supreme Court. And also the Pennsylvania case may come to the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court will have a role. The likelihood that the House will be involved in a determination of who the next president is, I think that is less likely than the Supreme Court issuing an opinion on this. And I think, frankly, it's pretty clear to me that there was serious fraud. Whether the extent of the fraud would have reversed the election in Pennsylvania or Michigan or some of these other states, I don't know. But to deny the fraud is a mistake, because we undermine Americans' confidence in an election. And I feel very strongly that we should be pursuing all avenues to investigate this fraud and really be as transparent as possible.
Yeah, I completely agree. Colorado Congressman Ken Buck, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me today. For more of my work, go to Breitbart.com or find me on Parler, Kyle Olson 4. Kyle Olson 4, KYLEOLSON, and the number 4. This is The Kyle Olson Show.